So we're finally live, guys. All right, so our question for the day is, how do we find fractions on a number line? Now, fractions on a number line isn't anything new. Where do you see fractions? Where have you seen fractions on a number line? Something you use in order to find out how long or short something is. Where can you find fractions on a number line?
Rulers or yardsticks.
On rulers and yardsticks. What else helps you measure that you can find numbers on, fractions on? Justice? Well, they're very flexible and they can go longer distances. They can even measuring tape. So let's get one. I was hoping to have a measuring stick of some sort or ruler, but someone keeps taking my stuff. So I don't know what to do. Hold on. I can't reach it. So just like in the last video that we posted up here, we said that these little tally marks between the whole numbers are fractions. Is everybody with me on that? Yes. All right. And it's good to know where these things go, because when we start doing things like measuring, or if you ever get your own house and you want to figure out what size carpet you need or how much tile to put on your floor, will you be able to do that with fractions? Yes. Right, because not everything is going to be measured or round up to the nearest inch. Okay, so here's how we do it. Every fraction is between two whole numbers. And what you'll see most of the time with your problems is that it'll start at a 0. So what's it going to start at? 0. And then, depending on how many hops or spaces, is what your denominator is going to be. Okay, so let me write that step down for us. So first thing, you're going to look for how many pieces are on your number line. Right? Because fractions are nothing more but parts or pieces of a whole, right? We discovered that, especially when we did our Fruit Loop activity, that we had parts of that root that were a different color. So for instance, in this first number line, how many different pieces is my number line divided into? Raise your hand. Okay, Zion. So this is divided into how many? 2 parts. 2 parts. So I would say that these are what? Halves. These words aren't new, are they? No. So however many parts I have, that number, change my color, that number is going to be your denominator. So however many pieces you have, that number is your denominator. Okay, good. So another example, this number line here is divided into how many pieces? Raise your hand. Thomas? 3 parts. There's 3 parts. So my denominator, my unit here is going to be what, Thomas? Thirds. This one's divided into how many? Raise your hand. Tiana? 4. Fours. So then this is divided into fours. And then finally, this has how many parts? How many parts? Miss Jalen, how many parts? 6. There's 6 parts, so it's divided into 6, okay? So we always said that with our number lines, they're always going to start with a 0, right? Because we're not at more than a whole number yet. We're just dealing with small fractions. Will they get bigger?
Yes.
Yes, but for today, you're just going to focus on the ones that are smaller than 1, okay? So your first number goes into your numerator. So in this first section, I have my unit fraction, right? And so my numerator for each of the first sections is what digit, everybody? 1. And then the next section would be what? 2. And then after that would come 3 until you get to 1. Okay. Now, what we're going to notice is that you're going to see fractions that wind up having the same number in the numerator and the denominator. And guess what? We call that one what? One whole. So on my chart here, let me bring the camera a little bit closer so that friends online can see. So I have 1/3 in this, even though I made a boo-boo. The space between is not what I label. The tally mark is what I label. So this will be 2/3. And then when I hop again, what fraction would I get? 3/3 or 1 whole. So let's say that a couple times so we get used to it. So this on the fourth number line, can everybody see?
Yes.
On the fourth number line, I have, this is 0. So then this would be 1/4. The next one would be 2/4. The next one would be
3/4.
And the final one, what's the fraction there?
4/4.
4/4 or
1 whole.
or 1 whole. And let me clean up that 4. Let's do it one final time. So now I have 6. The first tally mark there is going to be what? 1, 6. Next I have
2, 6.
next 3, 6, 4, 6, 5, 6. And the fraction here would be 6, 6 or
1 whole.
Very good. Any questions on that? Okay. So again, I look for how many pieces. That becomes my what?
Denominator.
Your denominator. And then for every section, I just start counting up. Now, looks pretty simple when we have all the fractions written down for you. But do you think the makers of tests and in your books, they're going to give you all of these written out nice and pretty?
No.
No. So our job when we're figuring out number line fractions or fractions on a number line is to sometimes figure out what is missing. So let's take a look at this reteach here from HMH. Can I get, Jalen, since you're closest to the light, can you go ahead and turn off the front light for me so that we can see? All right, everybody focus?
Yes,
Okay, good.
Oh no, I wrote on you. Shame on you.
Let's see if I can scroll a bit. I'm just going to make this one big here. Now, if you're sitting where you can't see, you know that you can come over. I'm going to bring this closer. So it says for this one, write the fraction that names points J and K. So like with any, remember how we talked about points when we talked about geometry? Do you see now, or are you making connections now why I taught you that first? Because when you deal with fractions, you're going to have to see points. Can you wait for my answer? Let me teach you. Okay. All right. So here's 0 and here's 1, just like we talked about before. So this is 0/8. Now I didn't label 0/8. You don't have to do that. You can just call it 0. But they have 1/8, 2/8. We got to figure out what J would be and then what K would be. And we can figure that out simply by counting up. Will the denominator change, Kaylin?
No.
The denominator will not change at all. So I know I can put an 8 there. That's an 8. So I have 1/8, 2/8. Landon, what's going to go in the numerator here?
3.
It's going to be 3. 1, because I can see that they're counting up in the numerator, but also because I'm hopping. So 0, whoop. It does not like me today, y'all. Okay, here we go. So we have, this is 1, that's 2, and J makes what? 3. If I count, keep going up. What fraction would be in K? I know it's going to be an 8 there. And if 6 comes before and 8 comes after, Justice, what's the missing numerator? We have 6 here and 8 there. So what comes between 6 and 8?
7.
7. So what's my fraction going to be here? Read that fraction for me, Justice.
7/8.
It's going to be 7/8. All right. Seem pretty simple so far?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right. Let's make this smaller a bit. And we can get rid of our answers here. If I can stop moving my screen. All right. So it just says the number line from 0 to 1 is a whole number. Thumbs up if you're with me on that. Good. The whole is divided into 8 equal parts. Keep that thumb up if you still understand. The denominator is the number of equal parts. Good. And then each part is 1/8 of the whole. Does everybody understand that? What do we call a fraction? This is just for a review. But what do we call a fraction that has a 1 in its numerator? I know you know. Starts with a U. Tiana?
Unit fraction.
A unit fraction. So that's why we went over unit fractions before we did this, because you needed to understand what each part equaled up to. It's another 1/8 or another 1/4 or whatever the case is. So when we counted, we had 3/8 for J and we had 7/8 for K. All right. So now here's the fun part. Let's do 2 examples of our own. They've given us points A, B, and C, but this number line is divided into what fraction? What fractional part is this one divided into? You'll have to name the denominator. Messiah.
6.
All right, so this one's divided into 6, which means there's 6 equal parts. Everybody understand that? Okay, good. So point A. Who thinks they can come up and name point A, or come up and write it for me? Let me get Thomas. Come on down, Thomas. You next. Stop. All right. Okay, so you're going that side. All right, so here's 0, 6, or 0, 1, 6. What's going to go after 1, 6? Now you're going to write it in the space there. So what would go in my numerator? Okay, so he put 3, 6. But that's not going to quite fit. Now look at this, son. I said, this is 0, this is 1. 3 is over here, but there's a number missing. So let's think about this again. What will be missing here? What number? Talk to me first. What number comes between 1 and 3?
2.
2. So what are you going to put in the numerator?
2.
2. And so now that we have 2, how do you read that fraction?
2, 6.
2, 6. Very good. Give him a hand. Thank you so much. All right. Point B. You got 2, 6 here. 3, 6. I saw your hand earlier. What would point B be? BB. Ha, ha, ha. What would point B labeled? What would come after 3, 6? Think about what comes after 3.
4.
Okay, so what would that fraction be? Come write it for us.
4.
4, 6. So you're going to write it right there. Very good. Give him a hand. And then I have one more. So we got 2, 4, and this one right beside 4, 6 is missing. So what would we call point C? Who has, put your hand down if you've come up or answered me. Kayla, you have not answered me. Tiana, have you answered me? You sure? Come on. Yes, you have. You answered my question earlier. Okay, Kaylin, come on up. All right, so before I give you the marker, you have to tell me with your words what point C would be. So we already have 1, 6, 2, 6, 3, 6, 4, 6. What comes after that?
5, 6.
Okay, so right in this space, I want you to write that fraction. 5, 6. Okay, good. Give her a hand. All right, so this was pretty simple. But if you can name your fractions on a number line this way, when you start to work through... It's creeping up on me. When you start to work through word problems, this should be the same amount of ease. And this will help us do something called equivalent fractions. All right, so I'll be posting some assignments on Dojo and in Google Classroom to help support this lesson. Please message me if you have questions. Bye.